and we just need something from our trolley before we go any further. Just a little bit of refreshment, as chosen by the chief woman. Well, basically the woman in charge of the show and the woman in charge of the pub, basically.
Yes.
What have you chosen today?
Very nice, tasty Indian Pale Ale from Arbor. 6%, so a little bit pokey. It's called Rocket Man, which I thought was very apt. Mosaic and Citra hops you will find in this one.
Citra, my favourite. I always like a Citra hop every now and again.
Citra hop, yes.
Very good. Thank you very much, Suze. Well, today's confessions now with a new no repeat guarantee.
Oh, really? Is there a guarantee on that?
Wow.
I think that's
Really?
right. I think I stole that phrase from somewhere. That's right, next door. Okay, so James sends in today's confession. It comes with a health warning. Obviously, I mean, I don't think anybody ever listens to the confession and thinks, I'm going to do just that.
Okay.
So this is obviously
one of those.
Yes, so
Right.
don't do anything that we do here.
Okay.
James says, Father Simon, the Confessional Collective, it was the first opportunity for our newly formed family to venture away on holiday for a well-earned break with our firstborn child, the beautiful Lily May. She was born on Boxing Day 2010, and we nested and stumbled our way through newbie parenthood through the wintry and spring months. And through these sleepless nights and tireless days, set about planning our summer getaway. Nothing too exotic, obviously, but the start of our family adventures. We settled on a trip to the West Country and later invited our in-laws, my wife Emma's brother and his fiancée Beth, for an activity-filled sea, surf, beach and boogie board bonanza. Come August, we made the long journey down to a swanky Airbnb in Newquay in Cornwall. This is all going to be very nice.
Yeah.
Having settled in for a day or two, we soon found an amicable routine. As our bedroom had adjoining walls with John and Beth, we'd wake extremely early in the morning with a teething little Lily. We'd creep around and feed and play and do all that we could to allow John and Beth to enjoy their holiday rest too, before we all got up properly and set about the holiday activities. Around midweek, we thought it's about time to go out for an evening meal, and maybe, just maybe, as we're on holiday, we could also enjoy and get away with a visit to a local pub.
Nice.
This had been a while since we'd been able to let our hair down somewhat, and if not on holiday, then when? We had a lovely early evening dinner, then passed by a public house, and there was some live music, I recall, keeping us entertained. Baby was content, and in between sleeps in the pushchair, that was all nice and fine. Some fun and laughs were had, and then not too late, but later than normal, we ventured back to our apartment. But let's just say we had less of a lovely night's sleep afterwards. Lily was teething and was not settling, probably no worse than other nights, but this evening it felt worse for some reason. But we eventually all got off to sleep. Now, it wasn't a huge room, and when Lily did wake every couple of hours, either Emma or I would shuffle down to the bottom of the bed where the cot was placed and where we would soothe or feed or do whatever we needed to ease little Lily and try not to wake John and Beth next door. I recall that on the third or fourth occasion, it was my turn. So again, in darkness, I shuffled down under the covers to the bottom of the bed, attempted to soothe our little one, but on this occasion it wasn't working, so I thought it might be time for a little teething gel to be applied. So I reached and felt around in the dark for the baby's paraphernalia bag. I found it, I filled around inside, there it was, the little tube, and it's now, I'm a darkness expert, obviously, so lid off, dab on finger, quick smear around the gums, baby soothed and quiet. Me straight back to the other end, more sleep, mission accomplished. You may well be ahead of me.
Okay.
Within a blink of an eye, dawn was upon us and sunlight was sneaking in through the curtains. It was still very early. Lily was stirring, so we all got up and relocated to the living area to get coffee, breakfast and play, and to distance us all from John and Beth to allow that. I think they're a bit pampered, John and Beth, to be honest, anyway. So there we all were, sitting on a plush rug in the living room, pushing different shaped wooden blocks through different shaped holes, when suddenly both our glances focused in on our beautiful little girl's face. That's weird. Her mouth. Why is it that colour? We both looked back at each other with confused stares, and then in unison back at Lily. Her mouth, well, her lips were a distinct shade of dark yellow as she sat there beaming back at us. And now we look back at one another and the penny drops and our stares harden, especially my wife's, because my wife opens the baby bag and holds up a tube the distinct yellow tube of nappy barrier cream,
Right.
which is supposed to go on the bottom and not around the gums.
No.
And the following telling off probably did wake John and Beth. Who cares about them? Not sure what the moral of the story is. Probably take a torch. But all was fine for the rest of the holiday and much fun was had by all. But I seek forgiveness from my now 15-year-old daughter for any early trauma caused, although she's never had a nappy rash since, and from my wife, who from then on took on charge of all overnight baby duties.
What?
Wow. Okay,
Yeah.
nice one. And also from John and Beth for probably depriving them of a restful holiday. I think I've heard enough of John and Beth.
Yeah.
I mean, you're clearly going out of your way to do everything you can to give them a wonderful time. But in the process, the little one ended up with nappy barrier cream on her gums, which is clearly, don't do that. Obviously take a torch. Obviously make sure you're putting the right stuff on baby's gums. But Sister Susie goes first.
Well, yeah, James. Well, first of all, John and Beth, shouldn't they be helping you? Isn't that like the point of taking family with you on holiday? Is that they help you with the baby?
In the
I don't
night?
know.
I don't think so.
Well,
Probably
maybe not in the night, but they could have offered in the morning. But yes, I think the moral is yes, maybe you should double check because danger, that could have been terrible. And also, now your wife was the one that was doing all of the overnight duty.
Yeah,
well,
I
for that
reckon he did
reason
it on
alone,
purpose.
I'm not forgiving you.
No. Brother Matthew.
Well, yeah, I agree with Suze that
Yeah.
John and Beth, frankly, shouldn't have been on this holiday unless they're prepared to pull their weight, which they should. And of course, this would have been avoided because they'd have taken Lily into another room. No worries about the tube.
Well, at 4 in the morning.
Also, yeah, and also, who puts 2 tubes into the bag? Don't put 2 tubes in the bag. It's a way that. And as it turned out, Lily was fine with nappy rash cream. Probably enjoyed it. Never got a nappy rash again. What does that tell us? Probably nothing. But anyway,
Yeah, don't do it.
I'm going to forgive for all of those reasons.
All of those reasons.
Yeah.
James, I have to say, when he says, I'm not sure what the moral of the story is. I mean, if there has to be a moral to any of these stories, we'd be completely stuck. Anyway, does he get your forgiveness? 61054. First word is Simon. Just before the news, you heard a confession which was all about getting the wrong tube from the baby's bag. Very easy to do in the middle of the night because it's dark. And maybe you've had a few beers before. And so your daughter ends up with a big yellow face when she shouldn't. Anyway, the people's verdict is in. Here we go.
Forgiven, says Joe in Stratford. Being a parent is tough. They were trying their best to not be a burden on their friends, and the baby was fine in the end, so all good. Tom says, though, not forgiven. What's wrong with turning the light on? How is that going to disturb people in the room next door? And Jean Imbued says, forgiven. Such an easy mistake to make. Why do they make all the packaging for all those baby items so similar?
Well, it's a tube of stuff, isn't it? It's a
It
tube
is.
of ointment, and they kind of
That's
assume
true.
that you might read the label.
Well, you can't always, not when the light's off.
Well, you should turn the light on.
Oh, turn the light on. Oh, I
think
see.
that would have been
Okay.
very straightforward. If you have a confession, we would love to hear about it. Please send it to confessions@greatesthitsradio.co.uk. We need first, of course, it's just something to keep us going over the next few minutes. Something from the trolley would be nice. What have you selected, Susan?
I've got a very nice single hop pale ale today. It's called Run Hop Run, 4.2% from Ridge and Furrow Brewery, and it's Simcoe hops.
I've never heard of them. Are they any good?
Simcoe, yeah,
Yeah.
it's tasty.
Okay. We'll have a half for later. Thank you very much. Today's confession is a first, actually, but is a very strict moral lesson for us all.
Oh, is it? Oh, right. Okay.
It comes from Dustin. Father Simon and the arbiters of absolution. I must clear my conscience, no matter how shameful. But before I begin, I must warn you, this tale involves religion, the country of Venezuela, invaders, neighbours, volatile organic compounds, and an idea.
I like all of these.
Wow. Not sure I
The
do.
year is 2002. I was one of 4 religious missionaries
Oh.
living in
Wow.
a town coast of Caracas in Venezuela. Can I just say, I don't think we've ever had a confession from a missionary.
No, this is
So
very
it's a
good.
first.
Yeah.
The country and its people were among the most kind and generous I've ever met. The climate, less so. The oppressive sun beat down on us relentlessly, and we were grateful each evening to return to our flat when the day was done. One thing we were not grateful for were the chiripas, which is a small cockroach
Oh, right,
about
yeah.
1 centimetre in length and they were everywhere.
Okay.
I've looked them up. Apparently, the official name is they're a German cockroach.
Oh, right. How did they get to... Anyway,
yeah.
doesn't matter. Yes,
I don't know what the German cockroaches are doing in Venezuela.
yes.
I'm not sure. Anyway, they're cockroaches. That's all you need to know. And each night when we returned from the day's work, we turned on the light and saw literally hundreds of them scattering all over the tile floor. Within a few seconds, it was as if they'd all vanished into thin air. We cleaned and we sprayed and we searched for their hiding places. We did everything that we could to rid our living space of this pestilence, but to no avail. One evening, a neighbour knocked on the door. She said she had noticed an influx of chiripas coming from the general direction of our flat. We confirmed that we were indeed locked in a life or death struggle with them and apologised that our problem was becoming her problem. She handed us a large bottle of bug repellent and said she'd used it with positive results. We accepted it graciously as missionaries would and promised that we would soon be victorious, a triumph of good over evil. When she left, we closed the door and sighed. We'd used this same brand of repellent for months. We were starting to think the little devils liked it. One Saturday morning, we decided to deep clean every inch of the flat. I was in charge of the kitchen. I slid the countertop and base cabinet unit away from the wall to inspect it. To my surprise, delight and horror, I saw a giant moving mass of tiny brown cockroaches huddling against the back of the cupboard. I called to my companions and we all took turns peeking down the hive. We had found it. But what do we do now? We needed them all dead. But
spoken like a true missionary.
yeah, we had empirical proof that the repellent did nothing to repel the invaders. Now, I do not know if it was divine inspiration, it wasn't, or the fumes from the repellent, more likely.
Yeah.
But an idea materialized. It was brilliant. It was risky. It required boldness. Do not do any of the next few things.
Okay.
Minutes later, I channeled my best Field Marshal Montgomery and I laid out my plan. Minutes later, we were ready to act. Each missionary had their duties. I was to tilt the cabinets away from the wall to expose the hive.
Yes.
The second missionary was to dump the repellent into the hive. The third had a box of matches. The fourth had a bucket of water because safety. We were set. What could possibly go wrong? Let me be clear, everything that we did was dumb, stupid, and let this be a lesson for everyone how not to deal with cockroaches. Father Simon, it's difficult to describe the size of the fireball that erupted from behind the cabinet. Because I didn't see it. I was standing the closest, so I was the one to receive its embrace. My companions told me that a mushroom of flame rolled out from behind the cabinet and engulfed my head. In slow motion, I remember missionary number 4 tossing the bucket of water both on me and the cabinet, and then things took a turn. About 2 seconds later, we discovered a new phenomenon called fluid density. It turns out that the repellent was oil-based and therefore floats on water. Our safety bucket had turned against us.
Oh, no.
We found ourselves doing an Irish jig in 2 inches of flaming water, trying to avoid the flames. The second missionary 2, danced his way out of the kitchen, grabbed a towel and began flapping the water until the flames were extinguished. We stood there in 2 inches of water, silent, singed, soaking, smoke filling the air. The cabinets were darkened but still intact. Nothing seemed permanently damaged. The only casualties immediately apparent were a burnt towel and my lack of eyebrows and eyelashes. And then we saw them. Hundreds of dead chiripas, German cockroaches floating in the water, possibly thousands, Father Simon, all dead. We had done it. The cost was great, but victory was ours. Yes. However, obviously, I seek forgiveness first from the kind neighbour who suffered due to our infestation. I seek forgiveness from my colleagues for involving them in my idiotic plan. Because of this event, I understand I am not Field Marshal material. I seek an extra measure of forgiveness from the missionary who was left without a towel. Okay.
Oh, because, right, yes.
And most of all, I seek forgiveness from the occupants of other flats whom we put in danger, even though they never knew of our actions. My facial hair has grown back, but stands as a daily reminder that my ideas are rubbish. Being from across the pond, I voluntarily recuse myself of all smart speakers and all tat.
No smart speaker, then?
All I hope to receive is absolution. I pray that I will not be cast into the fiery pit. I've already been through that in a Venezuelan kitchen. P.S. You can use my name if you like. May my sins be laid bare before the world. I am not afraid, just dumb.
Okay.
Okay, so our first confession from a missionary, which I like very much. Okay, you can wrap that up. Okay.
Thank you.
So missionary Dustin confesses this is obviously not how to deal with any infestation at all. It's another one of our public safety films, just so that you never ever behave like this. Sister Susie, what are you saying?
Yeah, like, I really want to forgive Dustin here, but because the cockroaches just disgusting. But fireballs, flaming water, they were just lucky that it wasn't worse. And I am going to say, danger, danger, high voltage. I can't forgive you.
No, but he saved us a smart speaker, so there's always that.
That is true.
Brother Matthew.
Yes, live and let live, unless the cockroaches, in this case, we need them all dead. So, yes, I'm going to forgive. We all learned a lesson, didn't we, about the oil in the bug repellent? None of us knew that, and now we do, so we won't be chucking any matches at bug repellent. And why couldn't they have more than one towel each? I don't remember that in the Bible.
It's a missionary thing.
You're allowed to have more than one towel, I think. So for all those reasons, I'm going to forgive.
You are going to forgive. Okay. Yeah. It's the people's verdict. Do you forgive Dustin the missionary? 61054. But just before the news, we had a confession from a missionary in Venezuela who confessed to a particularly idiotic way of getting rid of cockroaches, which was setting fire to bug repellent.
Yes.
And the missionaries were all running around with towels and so on. But the cockroaches did meet their maker. Anyway, in a matter of speaking. Anyway, the people's verdict, here we go.
Forgiven, says Bev. Cockroaches are a nightmare. They're big and gross and scuttle around. I think his idea was genius. But Hannah in Bury St Edmunds says, not forgiven. Who sets fire to a whole group of cockroaches? That seems a little extreme. Surely spraying the bug repellent would have just done the job. And Kevin in Wiltshire, though, says, forgiven. I worked in pest control for years. And though I never used fire or a flamethrower on cockroaches, I did often feel like it. So full marks from me. Though he was lucky, he didn't burn the house down.
Yes, and obviously it's, again, the public safety information.
Yes.
If you have an infestation of cockroaches, do not follow.
Do not
the
use
method.
fire.
Yes, because in general, it's a very bad thing.
Yes.
If you have a confession, we would love to see it, please. confessions@greatesthitsradio.co.uk. 5:47 Greatest Hits Radio now helping itself to something from the drinks trolley, which Susie's brought up on the train from Bristol. Thanks for the trolley. Laden as it is with goodies. What are we choosing?
Well, I've gone for this one because I really like it. It's called Light Bulb. It's an extra pale ale. And the reason why it's called Light Bulb is because it's the same colour as a 100-watt light bulb.
Okay, very good.
So like white.
So, with a yellowy tone. Yeah.
Citra hops.
It's Simcoe and Magnum.
Oh, okay.
4.5%.
Okay, maybe not then. Okay, so David sent, thank you very much indeed for that.
You're welcome.
David sends today's confession. Father Simon and the arbiters of all that is good and all that is bad. The events I shall describe occurred in the late... In fact, this is a Christmas confession, but you'll see.
Is it?
Yeah. It's the late 1980s. My wife and I shall call Mary, and we owned a small rest home for elderly people. We, along with our 3 children, occupied a large house together with 3 old ladies and 1 old gentleman. It was a 3-storey house where we occupied the ground floor. The old people had the middle floor, comprising bedrooms, sitting room and bathroom, and our bedrooms were on the top floor. The layout of the house is important, as you will see. As well as running the rest home, Mary, my wife, continued to work 2 nights a week in a busy A&E department at the local hospital as a nurse. As Christmas approached, we arranged with the families of the elderly residents that they would all collect their relatives at 12:30 on Christmas Day and return them that evening, allowing us to enjoy our day with the children. As in previous years, Mary would work Christmas Eve from 8 p.m. till 8 a.m. on Christmas Day. My job was to try and keep the kids upstairs until she got home from work so she could see them open their presents. She would then go to bed for a few hours whilst I got the residents ready and downstairs to be collected by 12:30. Mary got off a bit early and home in time to see the kids opening their presents, and there was joy all round. One of our residents, Jane, suffered from dementia, and her conversation consisted almost entirely of her asking, "What day is it, love?" Or occasionally, "What time is it, love?" She was very small and thin and a bit unsteady, but had enough strength to keep going. It was going to take quite a while to get Jane downstairs from the residence floor to the ground floor, where her daughter Gladys would be collecting her at 12:30. So just on midday, I went upstairs to get her. She wasn't in the sitting room, which is where she would normally be, so I looked in her bedroom, and she wasn't there either. Now, this was a bit odd because she was always in one or the other. "Anybody seen Jane?" I asked the other residents. "No," they answered. I looked in the other residents' bedrooms, but no sign. This was now very odd and out of character. I looked under all the beds and in all the wardrobes, but still no sign. Now, I'm starting to panic now. She was a bit unsteady on her feet and needed help to get downstairs, but where could she be? Anyway, I went downstairs to the ground floor and searched everywhere, asked the kids had they seen Jane. No, they hadn't. It's now 12:10. The house had large cellars, but there's no way Jane could manage down 2 flights of stairs, surely. Nevertheless, I went down into the cold, dark cellar and searched. No sign. It's now 12:15 and I'm getting desperate. Gladys will be here in 15 minutes to collect her elderly infirm mother, and I had lost her. This can't have happened, but had Jane gotten upstairs to where we had our bedrooms? I went upstairs to search. No sign in the children's rooms. That's just left our bedroom where Mary was sleeping. Asleep that after a 12-hour shift in a busy A&E department was more like a coma, and one from which under no circumstances was she to be disturbed. I had no choice. It's now 12:20. I sneaked into our bedroom and had a quick look round, but to be sure I needed to check our bed. Had Jane got into bed with Mary? I had a rummage under the duvet and Mary stirred. Oh no. As she was a little bit conscious, I said, "Is Jane in bed with you?" Now, as it's a family show, I cannot repeat the words used by Mary. Suffice to say, it was in the negative, with a warning that if I disturbed her again, it would be the last Christmas I would ever see.
Yep.
The only thing I can think of now is that Jane has somehow managed to get downstairs on her own and left through the front door. I made sure all the kids were playing with their Christmas presents and decided I'll drive around the block, see if I can find Jane, who will probably be lying on a pavement somewhere. I ran downstairs and down the 3 steps from the front door onto the driveway. I get into the car, and that's when I hear, "What day is it, love?" "What time is it, love?" And at this point I scream. There sitting in the passenger seat is Jane, turning a light shade of blue in the cold. I hadn't noticed she was in the car. As I approached the windscreen, it was covered in frost.
Oh.
It's now 12:25. I help her out of the car, up the steps and into our sitting room, where I sit her as close as I can to the gas fire, which is on full blast.
Oh, dear.
Fortunately, Gladys is a bit late, and by the time she arrives, Jane is almost a pink colour. I informed Gladys that Jane has had a lovely morning and is looking forward to Christmas dinner with her family. How on earth Jane had got downstairs, out the front door, down more steps and into my car, unaided and over the icy pavement, I will never know. So, Father Simon, I don't ask forgiveness from Jane, as in truth, and unfortunately, she had no memory of what had just happened, and her daughter was unaware of the unfolding drama, so no harm there, no. I ask for forgiveness from Mary, my wife, who did not need her idiotic husband waking her up to ask if she had an old lady in bed with her, and mostly from the kids who really wanted their father to play with them and their new Christmas toys instead of running around like a demented Basil Fawlty, which of course David thinks he resembled. And you can understand why. He only has a very few number of charges, and one of them had escaped.
Yes.
On Christmas Day, of all days.
Yeah.
Sister Susie, what do you say?
Well, you had one job, David. Just, keep them inside, especially in the cold. Can't imagine how did she get out? Just put a lock on the door. I don't know.
Maybe she unlocked it. Maybe she had a key.
4 people, 3 people. You haven't got many to look after. It's not like it's a whole home. So you should keep better care. Don't get distracted.
I think Jane was smarter
Not
than
forgiving.
David thought, and she had a little key and she let herself out. She got herself in the car.
Yeah.
She was going to
Where
drive
was
off.
she going?
Anyway, Brother Matthew.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to forgive because I think we're overlooking the fact that the house had 3 floors, didn't it? That's a huge amount of floors, and they couldn't possibly keep track. And then Jane managed to get out and get into the car. Good job, she got in the car. But obviously, he's asking for forgiveness for Mary, and we've all done late shifts, early shifts, night shifts, and not want to be disturbed. But I'm sure if I know Mary at all, I know she would have forgiven David for this.
Mary,
because I think she'd have enjoyed this. A little Christmas miracle is what Mary would have said. So for all those reasons, I'm going to forgive.
I don't think that is what
I think it is. I know Mary. She'd be laughing at this. She thinks it's very funny that she was woken up.
Strange world to live in. Okay, so the people's verdict, please. Do you forgive David for his act of losing Jane, one of his very few elderly patients? So we would like to know. 61054 on the text, forgiven or not. 61054, first word is Simon. just before the news, we had a confession from David. He ran a small old folks' home with his other half. But one Christmas afternoon, they lost Jane, who turned out she'd just hidden in the car. And she shouldn't really have been able to get out. But anyway, the people's verdict is in. Here we go.
Forgiven, says George. Bless Jane. I love this hilarious confession. I'm sure his wife Mary didn't mind, given the hilarity of the situation. Lauren says forgiven. Go Jane. I'm sure Mary got over it and was all okay. I thought Jane was going to be in the bed for a minute there.
Yes, I think I did.
Indeed. And Steve in New Brighton says, as a retired chartered accountant, I've audited several old people's homes, and all the staff talk about how clever and devious the residents are at escaping, no matter how complex the route. So forgiven.
All right, thank you very much indeed for the verdicts. I don't think Mary would have been pleased to have had Jane in bed with her.
If I know Mary, I'd have said she'd have been
Is that
fine
right?
with that as
I
well.
suppose it would have been warmer than going outside in the
Correct.
cold and sitting in the car. If you have a confession, we would love to hear about it. Confessions at greatesthitsradio.co.uk. It's 5:47, and before we get there, we need some refreshment anyway. Suze, what have you selected from your trolley as it trundles past, please?
I've gone for a very delicious rosé today.
Nice.
Matt can help me with the pronunciation of where it's from. Guettariaco? Is that right?
Let's say it is, yes. That sounds good enough to me.
Yep.
It's Spanish. It's Chacoli wine, Chacoli rosé. Slight spritz on the bottle, so not sparkling, but it's got a very nice, refreshing, delicious.
Very good for the freezing weekend
Yes.
to come. Thank you very much indeed. Okay, so here we go with tonight's confession, which comes from Steve. Thank you, Steve. Dear, optimistically, though realistically not a snowball's chance, collective crew.
Okay.
I come before you with a confession so old it predates mobile phones and my lower back problem. We are talking mid to late 80s. Shoulder pads were wide and hair was high. At the time, my now ex-wife and I, along with another couple, Dave and Maureen, had developed the rather wholesome habit of taking canal boat holidays. By this point, we were seasoned mariners of the inland waterways. We had mastered the art of steering at 3 miles an hour, could pronounce gunnel without giggling, and had perfected the division of labour. One steers, one does the lock, one makes tea, the other one makes entirely unhelpful advice. On this fateful day, we found ourselves at the legendary Hawkesbury Junction. To boaters, it is the aquatic equivalent of the Monaco Grand Prix hairpin bend, except slower and with more Labradors.
Okay.
For those unfamiliar, Hawkesbury features 2 canals that run side by side as if not speaking to each other. A lock with a majestic drop of approximately 6 inches. 2 90-degree turns about 15 metres apart, designed, I assume, by someone who disliked boaters, and a pub strategically placed so that a congregation of goozlers, canal watchers, may observe and silently judge your manoeuvring skills.
Indeed.
It was decided that the ladies would hop off to work the lock and cross via the footbridges, while Dave and I would bring the boat round. A simple, well-rehearsed operation. What could possibly go wrong? We arrived first. Actually, that line, what could possibly go wrong, turns up more than any other in this feature.
Okay.
We arrived first and pulled in to wait. And there, glinting, temptingly, in the grass on the towpath, lay 2 beautiful metal mooring pins, upright and unattended, practically winking at me, Father Simon. Now, as any boater knows, people often forget to retrieve mooring pins when they depart. They lie in wait, ankle-high trip hazards for the unwary. What I can only describe as a fit of civic virtue, some might say opportunistic light-fingeredness, I declared, well, we can't leave those there. Someone could trip. So I picked them up. The ladies returned. Lines were cast off. We set off with the serene confidence of people who believed they were good citizens. As we glided past another boat, we noticed a chap holding 2 ropes. Just ropes, but with no pins. He was waiting for us to clear the space so he could secure his vessel. And there was a moment, a dawning realization, a slow, dreadful pivot of the head as we looked back. The man was scanning the ground, patting the grass, circling, confused, increasingly frantic, his boat gently drifting, tethered only by hope and mild panic. On the back deck of our boat lay his 2 missing mooring pins.
Oh dear.
We had not rescued abandoned hardware. We had, in fact, committed what can only be described as opportunistic canal piracy. Now, before judgment is passed, let me explain. You cannot simply pull over in a narrowboat like you would in a Ford Escort. You require space, depth, availability. Hawkesbury is busy. It's popular. It's positively teeming with boats and judgmental gongoozlers, or whatever they're called.
Yes.
Did we consider returning them? Briefly. Did we? No, we didn't. Instead, we executed what I believe is known in maritime circles as a strategic continuation of voyage. And so we cruised on, the 4 of us heroically avoiding eye contact, while behind us a bewildered man attempted to moor using 2 ropes, what I can only assume was increasingly colourful language, because can you tie ropes to blades of grass? No, you can't. And so off he drifted. Here is the part that weighs on me, Father Simon. That was over 40 years ago.
Yeah.
For the last 20 of those, I have lived afloat. And yes, I still have those 2 mooring pins. They have travelled miles of canal. They have secured boats through storms. They have been hammered into towpaths from Braunston to Birmingham. Each time I use them, there is a faint whisper in the back of my mind. These are not yours. The pang of guilt was once sharp, and now it is just a polite nudge, a moral post-it note. Occasionally, when tapping them in with a mallet, I imagine somewhere out there, a man possibly still at Hawkesbury, wondering where it all went wrong. So, Father Simon, I must ask forgiveness from Dave, who was complicit through silence, but most of all, to the rope man of Hawkesbury, wherever you are. I suspect any chances of forgiveness from the team are negligible. From rope man, non-existent. From the gongoozlers, they saw nothing, although they see everything. But confession, as they say, is good for the soul. Yours in lingering, slow-speed shame. Steve. Well, again, we had a missionary confession this week. Haven't had one of those.
No.
A canal confession. I don't think we've had one of those for a long time. But one of those crimes that you can only commit on the canal. Let's turn to Sister Susie. What do you say?
Well, I'm not sure I believe, Steve, that it wasn't possible to return the pins. Like, they go really slow, don't you? You could have at least said, I've got your pins here. I picked them up. I'll drop them off when I can stop, because you can just walk back, can't you, when you can pull over? So I'm not so sure how much he couldn't possibly give them back. And I just think, that poor man, what was he going to do with his canal boat?
Drifted off, presumably somewhere down Hawkesbury.
Yeah, I'm not going to forgive him. Should have given him back.
Brother Matthew.
What's he doing leaving his mooring pins round willy-nilly? If you do that, then, find his keeper. Someone's going to take your mooring pins. Also, I suspect he'd left his mooring pins there to sort of save the spot, because he was saying, yes, I'm going to be here, so I'm leaving my mooring pins. Well, you rolled the dice, sunshine, and you lost. Also, I wonder whether Steve's ex-wife had something to do with this. Maybe she did. Probably there. Yes, for that reason, I'm going to forgive.
Okay, so you're bringing their marital situation into it.
I think so.
Okay, nicely done. Yes, we didn't hear much about the ex-wife.
No, we didn't.
That.
Suspicious.
Anyway, it's the people's verdict, please. Do you forgive Steve, yes or no? Just before the news, we had a confession from Steve, a seasoned mariner of the UK's canal system, who many years ago stole 2 metal mooring pins at the notorious Hawkesbury Junction. A boat went adrift and he stole the gear. People's verdict, here we come.
So John says, forgiven. Who leaves their mooring pins lying around for people to trip up on? He was helping what could have been a trip hazard. But Tom in Norfolk says, if it's not yours, why touch it? I feel sorry for that poor bloke who lost them. No forgiveness for Steve here. But Chris in sunny Swayfield says, I definitely forgive. Trying to save a mooring with mooring pins is like trying to reserve a sunbed with towels. Not a respectable thing to do.
All right, very good. Thank you very much indeed for the verdicts, and thank you for the confession.